All right. So we had the Michigan fan base completely freaking out earlier today when we went live at halftime. And here we are with all of you at halftime of the Buckeyes game against Maryland, down 13-10. Case in point. Too many look aheads. Maybe not necessarily from the team. I don't know. That's always a guessing game. That's always conjecture when people say, well, that team was looking ahead or this team was looking ahead. I don't know who's looking ahead. We can't get into the hearts and minds of people, but I know that a lot of you have been looking ahead. Michigan fans, Ohio State fans looking ahead to the final Saturday of November. Can't do that. Can't do that. And why do it anyway? Enjoy the games. Take each game at a time and take it seriously and enjoy it at the same time. And we saw it earlier from Michigan. Now we see it from Ohio State. Buckeyes trailing at halftime, 13-10. Will Ohio State need a last-second field goal to hold off mighty Maryland? The Maryland Terps, who lost 30-0, couldn't score 1 point against Penn State last weekend. But Talia Tagovailoa, he one of the more streaky quarterbacks in college football. We all know that. He's been around and operating this Terps offense for long enough for all of us to know that. He is streaky, meaning he can be mighty hot even in the cold. It's a clear, crisp day in College Park, and the Terps look better than the Buckeyes right now. They are just the better team through the first half, leading 13-10. I will get to your comments, questions, and of course, the big story of the day is number one outside the Big Ten, TCU surviving with that rushed field goal. Sonny Dykes told us after the game, hey, we got the guys on the field. We practice that every Thursday. We do it all the time. We knew exactly what we were doing. We ran the running back with no timeouts to set up the field goal, rushed him on the field. TCU still undefeated. Look at that. And then inside the Big Ten, of course, Blake Corum's injury at the end of the first half of the Illinois game. Michigan holding off Illinois 19-17 on a last-second field goal by Jake Moody, who is completely money. 37 of 38 under 40 yards in his career. Michigan survives, but Blake Corum doesn't play in the second half, and Michigan's ground game definitely suffers in that one. Let's get to all of your comments and see what we've got here. Keith says, Buckeyes look terrible. Offense, defense, penalties, missed tackles. Yeah, they look pretty bad. Terrible, yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say, that they look atrocious. Maryland's a capable team, but there should be no comparison between the two teams. We know that. We've seen enough Maryland football and Ohio State. Zethus says that Henderson is useless. He can get to the second level untouched. We've got DDR 256, all four of the top teams having a rough day. Yeah, Georgia was leading Kentucky 6-0. Have not checked that game out. I've basically been locked in on Ohio State, Maryland. Also have the Iowa-Minnesota game being an important game, of course. Georgia leads 9-0, and that game just started the second half, so there we go. One Scoop John. We went with a very vanilla game plan and rested starters, and it was just barely enough. Watching at the Big House, the pass game and rhythm was very off. One Scoop John at the Big House. One Scoop John, can't wait to hear your firsthand account. Hopefully, whether that's on Sunday night or maybe tonight, whenever you're able to join us. Can't wait to get your firsthand account of Michigan's narrow escape. I don't know of anybody out there that was picking Illinois to stay in that game. Don't know of anyone who was picking Maryland to stay in this game. For the record, I took Maryland in the 27.5, but I did pick Michigan to cover the 17. Furry kitty girl forever. Ohio State is doing well against the run, just not the pass. Maybe keying in on next week. I think that, Maryland, we think of Maryland as a finesse team, a passing team, and Talia starts that whole narrative, of course. And the wide receivers, Damon Demas, Raheem Jarrett, are two of the best in the Big Ten. But if I'm playing Maryland, I'm confident, at least to start the game, I'm confident as an Ohio State person, if I'm on the Ohio State side, to approach it as, let's man up on these guys and let's see if our secondary can handle it, especially with Talia completing less than 50% of his passes the last 2 weeks. Man up on these guys, play strong run defense, and load up, and let's test our corners. And then if they burn us and they prove to be too much out there, then we can always adjust. Jason says, today is Exhibit A, why SEC teams play a plate of cupcakes on the penultimate Saturday of the regular season. Couple reasons why right there, I think, would be number one, that if you have a national championship contender or contenders, then you spare them the letdown, the trap game, the look ahead, all those phrases. You spare them that on this particular weekend before rivalry weekend, number one. Number two, you allow teams to rest up, to get ready for each other. And I don't have as much issue with this, with the SEC, as other people do. Because if you look at the totality of the non-conference schedule, the SEC plays just as difficult non-conference games as anybody, maybe more, because teams like Georgia and Florida and others play two difficult non-conference games. You know, who else out there? There aren't many teams that are playing like a Florida non-conference schedule where they play both Utah and Florida State, or Georgia plays Oregon and Georgia Tech. Kentucky only plays Louisville, so Kentucky never schedules tough. They just don't believe in it. And yeah, we can't respect Kentucky's scheduling, but good point down there. Those are two basic reasons: injuries and keeping teams fresh. And then again, of course, you avoid the upset. Carlos says, my brother is working the game and said the second they got off the bus, they looked uninterested. Well, they better get interested. Still Kid, top four teams looking poor with effort today. Sue says, this game is pissing me off. Well, Sue, stick around for the rest of the game, and I can imagine that. Kevin's got OSU. I don't believe OSI is playing. Is not looking ahead. Give credit to Maryland. Kevin, I tend to be in your camp. Kevin, I tend to be in your camp with the thought right there. I tend to give credit to the team that's playing better and winning the game. I believe in look aheads. I believe in trap games. I believe in all that stuff because it's between the ears and it exists, but we don't know when it exists, because there are teams like Ohio State that can go out against a Maryland and be laser focused, all those things, and ready to go and take them seriously and still get challenged. And still almost lose like Michigan did. I don't know that Michigan was or was not focused today. I know that they were missing many of their top players. It wasn't just Blake Corum. Donovan Edwards didn't play, so they were down their two top running backs. So Ohio State fans can relate to that. And of course, Mike Morris didn't play, their best defensive end, and other injuries for Michigan. Sheedyville 03, Michigan and TCU 1-point win. Ohio State down at the half. Georgia 9-0 at the half. There it is. Furry Kitty Girl forever says Ohio State will score 50 in the second half. One Scoop John, we were all icicles by the end of the game, but that field goal at the end made it all worth it. Yes. And, you know, college kickers with the game on the line, who knows? But this is an exception. There are some really good ones and some ones that you can rely on, and Jake Moody is definitely at the top of that list. So as soon as there was an exchange of punts, Illinois had the ball The clock was ticking. I'm sure Michigan fans were not comfortable when Illinois had the ball with about 3.5 minutes left. But when it became apparent that Illinois was just playing, and this is where coaches err. I understand that with a certain amount of time left in the game and you're winning the game and you get the ball and time is of the essence, kill the clock, run it, force them to use their timeouts, and then kick the ball away. However, in this situation, there was just too much time. There was 3.5 minutes left in the game. Plus, you're kicking, you're punting into the wind. And how many times did we see it during the Michigan-Illinois game in which the Illinois punting, I didn't really notice it on the Michigan side, but the Illinois punter didn't kick as far as he typically did against the wind. And Michigan, they had the ball at the 45-yard line before they ran a play. And they've got a great field goal kicker. So it's a calculated risk, but still, do you, instead of forfeiting the downs, you are not running for 10 yards on 3 downs against Michigan. Do you, instead of playing the ultra-conservative game, the game that we played in 1985, that you always just ran, kicked, and hope for the best with 3.5 minutes left? No, understand, there's 3.5 minutes left. That's an eternity. And by the time Michigan got it, it was like 2:20, 2:30, something like that. That's an eternity for Michigan to move the ball into field goal range. That is not yet the time that you can just say, you know what? The clock is so much on our side that we can just run the ball and kick and we're good. And play defense. And barring a miracle, we're going to win the game. I understand that's conventional wisdom, but we know that in modern football, with the analytics being what they are, I would love to see what the analytics say about that. Yes, if there's 90 seconds left in the game, run, punt, and leave them with 30 seconds, 40 seconds on the clock to have to get in field goal range. Absolutely. But not when there's 3.5 minutes on the clock. And I'm keeping track of halftime here. Again, in College Park, Maryland leads Ohio State, and that's why you're all here, 13-10. Big game in the Big Ten Western Division, as now with Illinois losing, the Iowa-Minnesota winner takes over the Big Ten Western Division, along with Purdue, who held off Northwestern. So we will update you on all the scenarios once this Iowa-Minnesota game goes final, with Purdue winning, Illinois losing, and this is a tough break for Illinois, considering that, hey, they lost the game. So I'm not crying for them, but considering just having a great start to the season at 7-1, 4-1 in the Big Ten, and then beating the two teams that you would think that they needed to beat, Iowa and Wisconsin, for the first time in forever since the 80s. And then they blow the 2 games. They play Michigan this well. Illinois does not look like they're going to win the Big Ten Western Division. It should come down to, again, Purdue and then the winner of Minnesota and Iowa. So if Minnesota wins this game, Purdue is the tiebreaker on Minnesota, but Iowa has the tiebreaker on Purdue. Kevin's not happy, wants Michigan fully healthy. JG thinks that Ohio State and Michigan both were using limited playbooks. Have to review the game to really look into that and see that. Mark says that Michigan didn't blow them out because they did not want another temper tantrum in the tunnel. Well, we saw that Brett Bielema had some kind of issue with something at the end of the first half. I just saw a video shot of it. I did not hear it well explained, but that here we've got another issue in the tunnel between Michigan and an opponent. Ryan says Ohio State's soft. Furry Kitty Girl Forever would not want to play Penn State again. Interesting there. Beat Michigan. Doing well. Appreciate you being here, everybody. Just wanted to check in at halftime, get your thoughts on Ohio State's struggles We did the same thing at the halftime of the Michigan game. And the only negative to this week coming up, Ohio State, Michigan week for you Buckeye and Wolverine fans, and of course rivalry week across the board, across the nation, is that it's condensed because of Thanksgiving being on Thursday. We got to try to get all our coverage in for the most part Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we've got Thanksgiving, and we're already into Ole Miss and Mississippi State, the Egg Bowl that night. So we're going to be here locked in. We'll provide you with as much coverage of all of it as possible all week. Tough break, JG. Had Illinois with a money line. That must have paid off big, or it would have paid off big. Kevin says Ohio State's DBs need better ball skills. Yes, they do. And the soft cushion is just too much. Yeah, the soft cushion is too much in certain situations, Kevin, for sure. If you want to play that way from down to down and make that the overall approach, fine. I get it. And make the quarterback and the wide receivers play pitch and catch and tackle in space. But in certain situations, it's 3rd and 4. No, don't play like that. You're giving up first downs. You are handing the other team first downs. I got to say, in looking at Michigan in the passing game, Andrell Anthony just flat out dropped a touchdown. J.J. McCarthy thought they had a free play. Zinged one downfield with laser precision. That was a beautifully thrown ball between coverage. It was beautifully placed and thrown like a dart, and Andrell Anthony just blew it, just dropped it. Ronnie Bell's really good. He's on the same page with J.J. McCarthy on a down-to-down situation. Luke Schoonover, right now, being injured for Michigan. I don't know what his status is for next week, but that's not good. All right, Buckeyes, Terps, getting back out onto the field. I appreciate everybody being here. Want to catch this super chat. BGPO Football Funk, appreciate you being here. As always, I agree, play calling bad for BU and LU. BU and LU. Don't know who we're talking about there. But anyway, but appreciate you being here, DeAndre, and everybody else. Let's watch the Buckeyes and the Terps and everybody else here in the second half. We've got a big game, Iowa, Minnesota, and others. Clemson killing Miami, I believe, still 21-0 was the last I saw. All right, Georgia's got a touchdown on the board against Kentucky. All right, let's check out the second half of these games. We'll be back after. We will definitely be back with our live call-in show after all the primetime games, and maybe I've got something to say before that. Appreciate all of you being here. We will see you tonight. And, of course, Ohio State fans on the Ohio State channel, post-game right here with our guy Buckeye Bob and with Brandon after the game.